welcome to the April 10th regular school committee meeting. I will call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and roll call, please.
Leah DeSanctis.
Here.
Michelle Littlefield.
Here.
Stuart McAllister.
Here.
Sarah Perkins.
Here.
Ann Schools. Jennifer Whitehead.
Here.
Nicole Yeo Fisher.
Here. All right, moving on to 1.3, approval of minutes of the regular meeting of March 13th, special meeting of March 27th, and workshops of March 11th, March 18th, and March 25th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Stuart, second by Michelle. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, moving on to 2.0 administrative reports. We are going to move our 2.3 program review pre-K program update right up to the front here because we all can't wait.
So Mrs. Epler is going to introduce the group and go from there. Thank you, Mrs. Epler.
Thank you. Good evening. As you know, I'm Mrs. Epler. I'm the principal of Narragansett. We're very excited to welcome some pre-K friends here today, but I just wanted to give everybody a little update on our program. So as some of you may know, almost exactly a year ago in April, we knew we were going to have this program, but we had no staff, no retrofitted classrooms, no clue about how we were going to transport, and we were designing a playground, and it sounds like we didn't know a lot, but we really did. A lot of work went into the planning, and we were preparing to welcome up to 64 children in our pre-K program. And so right after this, around this time, we did some amazing hiring, and we were able to hire 2 really fabulous pre-K teachers. And so we were able to hire Leila Pollard, who came to us with lots of experience from the public pre-K world. And then we also were able to hire Lindsay Vayu, who came to us with lots of experience from the private pre-K world. So we were just blessed and thrilled to have such a really strong team. We have other staff that I'll talk about in a second. So with great anticipation, on August 28th of this past year, we had our first day of pre-K. Our pre-K students came a day before everybody else. And I will say, so that meant all the staff was in the building and no other children. So we all eagerly awaited our pre-K friends in the bus loop. So imagine probably 15 to 20 adults standing, waiting for children to come step off the bus. And when they did, there was an audible gasp when the doors opened because the first child that walked through the door was so tiny, but mighty. So we did start our program with 55 students. We are currently right now at 60 students that we're working with right now. And I will say we are not finished with our first year, but in this moment, it has been a smashing success. And I would just like to share that just a few key points. What we really learned as a team, and please know this is a team effort, is that being able to identify students really, really early for any additional supports that they may need has been a game changer. In ways that I think a lot of us that weren't familiar with pre-K didn't expect. We were also able to incorporate a purposeful play curriculum, which has really shown so much tremendous growth in our students academically, so much to the point that we have to talk to our kindergarten teachers about, holy cow, guess what these kids know already? And socially, they all know what to do during a fire drill. So that's really exciting stuff. Also in our work with our students, we're so thrilled to be able to offer services to students who need them, and we do that in a couple different ways. First, we're able to offer specially designed instruction, and Sue Hodgson, where's Sue? Wave, wave, wave. Yes, who does that for us. And currently she's able to support 8 students in our program and in our partner programs. We're also able to offer speech services to students, and Rita Schlegel does that right over there. Rita's waving. Rita's able to offer support to 17 students right now, 12 of them at Narragansett and 5 with our partner programs. And then Chelsea Osgood is our occupational therapist, and I do not believe Chelsea is here, but she is also offering services to students in our program as well as in our partner programs. So our team is really proud of what they've been able to accomplish. Specifically, they've been developing strong relationships in our community. We've partnered with Hannaford, the post office, the library. We have tons of guest readers coming in all the time. So when I say it's a smashing success, it is. As we're moving into our second year, just a little update, and then I'll turn it over to the main event, is moving into our second year, we received 77 applications for 64 spots. We as a team screened 68 children, and we still have a couple on the list that need to be screened. We've currently officially enrolled, like they've signed the dotted line type of thing, 53, with 6 in the wings that are just about to do that, and then we have a wait list this year of 5 students who are waiting. So all that's in the works for next year, and I think it's just really important to understand the success of this program is really, truly a collaborative effort. It started with Heather, with the vision, and working with the community about the needs of early learners in Gorham. Nicole Poole, Nicole, wave your hand. Nicole works in coordination with CDS and all of the special services that we're able to provide. Kim Fadrigan, please wave. Kim works with all of our curriculum needs and has been instrumental in setting up an RTI process for pre-K. Teresa Conley, who is not here tonight, she is our administrative assistant at Narragansett. She is all things logistics. So if you want to know about the buses, you want to know about the budget, you want to know about ordering, Teresa's your gal. And then we also are very thankful for our partners, Seedlings to Sunflowers and Gorham Arts Alliance. And I say this with full honesty, none of this could happen without the work of the team that we've hired to support our students and then the team that we all work together to support each other in the program. So I would like to stop talking now and take the opportunity for our students to kind of share a little bit about their pre-K experience. Tonight we are going to hear from Amara, we're going to hear from Connor, from Reagan, and from Oliver, and Eleanor is here, and Eleanor is here for moral support. So I'm going to turn this over to our team. Thank you very much.
We have a slideshow for you.
Welcome to our day. And we will live for our day. At circle time, we do numbers and exercise. At photo time, we make up stories from books, and we do role play from books.
Sorry. That's okay.
At soul time, we learn about lemons. At circle time, we have our rules. Eyes watching, voice quiet, ears listening, and body calm. And we do rhyming.
Amara's going to tell us.
We have Amara with us right now. She's going to tell us about our writing center.
Our writing center.
What do we use?
At they
What do we use
Halloween.
this for? Coloring. And what else? What's this? What do we do?
Play.
she's going to tell us about our blocks
Blocks.
in our block area. What type of blocks do we use?
Nice and loud, Amara.
What color is this one? It's very easy, nice and loud. What type of block is it? Reflective, right? Yeah. Reflection. What else do we use? What are they? Yeah, sure. What are some other things? What are these? What could you build with Legos? You could bring castles, yeah.
That's a lot of talking right there. Connor's turn.
We have Connor now, who's going to tell us about our sensory area as well as our art space.
Crayon.
Nice.
Crayons. What could you use crayons for?
Draw. Glue.
Mm.
In our art space. Yarn. What else? These two things. Ready? Stand right up so they can hear you. Should I take the mic down?
Garden and tool.
Looks like a very tour. What do we do with these?
Cut.
Cut paper. Sometimes we do. We use in the art space for this.
Paint.
To paint. What do you like to paint in the art area? Yeah. What pictures do you like to paint?
Oats.
Ooh. Coats.
Mushroom houses.
What about this? Do you remember this?
Malcolm. Dot Malcolm.
Dot marker. Good job. And what can we make with this?
Mostly anything you want.
Mostly anything.
Well, not everything the whole city.
Some stuff. How about this sensory area? What can we use this for?
Water.
What could you do with the water?
I'm not gonna say.
What do you think? You know what you could do with it? The water.
Yeah, nice. That's right.
Do some.
You could. What about this? What could you use for this?
Sand
Sand.
or water.
Sand or water. How about this? What could you do with this?
Art.
Scrub, right? What did you scrub with those? Do you remember?
Bottle. And that makes it what? Let me think.
Some fabric.
Yeah, I forgot that one. And bricks too.
Oh, yeah, and some.
And will they dry houses? Was what on this? Will they dry houses? Oh, and we can stop sand.
Yes, you could, right? What could you do with these?
I already know that.
Okay, what do you think?
There was this one
Mm-hmm.
and dwell into the sand with this one.
Drill into the sand with that. And what could you do with a pine cone in our sensory bed?
Paint it or draw on it. Or if they were weird, we have zipped them or dry painted. Or you could put them on paper and then use them for bowls and make the bowls eat off of them.
Oh, yes, you could.
Thank you, Connor.
Nice job. Nice job.
Next, we have Reagan, who's going to talk to us about our art easel as well as our dramatic play space.
Paintbrush,
What can we use that for at our art easel?
paper,
What do you like to paint with paintbrushes?
apple,
Ooh, very cool. What else have we used at our art easel?
chalk,
What could you do with chalk?
color,
Sometimes we use markers. Could you do?
Here, Reagan, scoot forward a little. There we go. Okay, turn this way.
There you go.
and
What's your favorite thing to do with art easel?
color,
Color. Sometimes we do what? What could we do with this?
cut,
Cook. Sometimes you wear.
no,
Oh my God. Sometimes you pretend to do.
green,
You want to show us how you do that? What would you pretend to be?
that,
How about? What dramatic place?
owl, fox, owl,
Good job.
Nice job. Nice job.
They're all out of order. Which I don't know what's next. 'Cause
Now we have Oliver doing our discovery area as well as our excuse me, discovery and our light table. You want to talk about discovery first? What can we use the discovery? Come stand right here. What are these?
man with flying glasses.
Very nice.
And what could you do with them? Do you want to show people how you use it?
Job. Very nice.
What could you look at a magnifying glass with? Would you Yeah, you could to see someone else's eyes, right? This. What is this? A
Puzzle.
puzzle. Sometimes we use puzzles. That's right. Matching games. What's your favorite thing to do in our discovery area or our manipulative area? Puzzles, Legos. You like to do the Legos? Yeah. And then we have our light table. Sometimes our light table, what do we have?
Not what they're called.
Our sensory.
Sensory bottles.
Mhm.
The light shines up through the bottom, right? What are these? What do we use sometimes at our light table?
Magnetiles.
Sometimes we work with hair.
Books.
Bob, nice job.
Okay, we have a few more slides.
If we take it up this, thing or big giant thing?
A few of them are really low.
You could try to put that microphone that's right there, pull it down towards the laptop, maybe. Yeah, give it a shot. All right. You can't break it. What if you do?
I'll hold it.
We like to go under the parachute and flap it up and down with stuffies on it. Bigger? I really like that. I like when people push me when I'm in the sled. And it's so much fun because it's so much slow and calm. If it was very fast, it would be like people wiggling off. I like being Elsa with a scarf around me, and I like to build ice castles in clay.
Some of them are softer than others.
I like to run around. I like playing with Abby in the slide thing, and I like sliding in the slide. I like the castle and
Sorry.
I like playing red and jumping puzzles. I like playing superheroes in the rain with all my friends. When I'm on the playground, sometimes I like to play with Lola, Mia, Wyatt. When I'm on the playground, I like to run around and go on the swing.
He likes to run around and go on the swings.
Sorry. Hi. Mrs. Pollard and I just wanted to highlight the staff that we work with every day because they're wonderful people and they make this program whole. We have a fabulous admin team at Narragansett that we are so fortunate to have. We have Mrs. H for our special education teacher, Ms. Schlegel for our speech and language, Ms. Chelsea for our occupational therapist, Ms. Meg and Mrs. Young are our ed techs that work in our pre-K classrooms, and we are so thankful for them and all the hard work that they do to make this program whole.
Officer Dad came to read us a story. Miss Nicolette came from Baxter Library and played octopus. And read books. Dad came to work instead. A mom came to read us to us in Italian.
What they said is a mom came to read to us in Italian and a dad came to read to us in Spanish. And a mom did our performance for our show. She's an artist.
Nice. Post office.
We had a special visitor from Hannaford. She gave us a great bag that turns into grapes and turns into a bag. She gave us a plate with fruit.
sort mail and scan packages.
We had people from the community come and read us stories. Mrs. Zephyr also read a book to us.
That was Mrs. Epler.
Students volunteer to help them. Fifth graders come to meet her.
We have some school volunteers and fifth graders came to read to us.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions.
So I do have a question. Can I get a copy of that slide presentation so we can share that with school committee members? Yeah, awesome.
Do you have any questions for the kids? They have 2 left.
Any questions?
Probably bedtime.
Thank you so much for coming and telling us all about your school days.
That's very
You did
good.
such a great job. Thank you.
Oh, great.
And you are welcome to stay, but you do not need to stay. Have a great evening. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go back to you know what, we're just going to keep going to 2.2, program review presentation by Great Falls Civil Rights Team.
I think we've got some folks from Great Falls coming up to the podium, yeah?
I know, right?
It's going to be a tough act to follow, I apologize. If anybody wants to, they could try using the small microphone there, yeah. That's so cute. Yeah, Becky. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to take a quick second to say one very quick thing before I hand it over to our 5th graders, our fabulous 5th graders. I'm very proud of the work they did in preparing to speak about their experiences with the civil rights team so far this year. My name is Christine Pennell. It's my first year as co-leader on the civil rights team with Ellen Berry, who's been doing it for 9 years. And without further ado, thank you so much for allowing us to speak with you today. And we have Evie to introduce us.
Hello, my name is Evie Sherb and I am one of the members of the Great Falls Civil Rights Team. Joining me today are Luke, Grace, Ella, and Abby to tell you a little about who we are and what we do. We are a group of 18 5th graders that are all different in amazing ways. Our team is made up of students who have different abilities, races, genders, religions, and different ancestries. Each of us believes we can do anything and everything as long as we work hard and try. Our presentation tonight includes information about the Maine Civil Rights Team project, our team, projects we are working on, and our hopes and dreams for the future. Before I hand things over to Grace, we want to thank the Gorham School Committee for the opportunity to present to you this evening. Our next speaker will be Grace Shuker, who will be speaking about the Maine Civil Rights Team project.
The Maine Civil Rights Team project is a school-based preventive program sponsored by the Office of the Maine Attorney General. The mission of the Civil Rights Team project is to increase the safety of our elementary, middle, and high school students by reducing bias, motivated behavior, and harassment in our schools. The Civil Rights Team project does this by supporting civil rights students, teams in our school. Students in the Civil Rights Team are active in engaging school communities in thinking and talking about issues related to race and skin color, national origin and ancestry, religion, disability, gender, including gender identity and gender expressions, and different kinds of family. We believe that bias-based behavior are especially damaging, and because of their unique nature need special preventive measures. The Civil Rights Team project does this by engaging school communities and encouraging in this important work so that students of all identities feel safe, welcome, and respected for who they are. Next up is Abby Hooper to speak about how we all became a part of the Great Falls Civil Rights Team.
As Evie mentioned earlier, the Great Falls Civil Rights Team is made up of 18 fifth graders. In order to participate on the Civil Rights Team, each of us had to write an essay answering this question. In our school, we believe that everyone belongs here, and every student should feel safe, welcomed, and respected for who they are. How will you help Great Falls be a safe, welcoming, and respectful school for all students? Please describe action steps you would or could take, or ideas you have to spread this message. After submitting our essays, our team leaders, Miss Bailey and Miss Pennell, reviewed all the applications. Next, we received a nomination letter indicating that we had made the team, which need to be signed by our parents or guardians stating that we have their permission and support. This year, every student that applied to be a part of the team was accepted. Our team meets twice a month in the library on Mondays. We talk about race, religion, disabilities, ancestry, gender, and different family structures. We explore history and current events, plan school-wide projects, design bulletin boards for each month, celebrate Awareness Month, such as Black History Month. Lastly, our team will be attending the Sea Dogs game in May, an annual event to celebrate all Maine students participating in the Civil Rights Team. Up next is Ella to share about one of our favorite projects this year.
One of our favorite projects this year was the Winter Story Walk we offered to our kindergarten, first, second, and third grade students. We used the kiosks outside of our school to display a story walk during the month of December, winter, a solstice story, and read the story out loud to classes as we walked around the school. It was very cold, but fun was had by all. Some of our highlights include seeing the joy of the little kids' faces, the younger kids having fun outside, kids being able to get a movement break while listening to a story, seeing kids in our special programming express their feelings in ways we haven't seen before, having an opportunity to be school leaders, connecting with younger students who we don't normally work with, and working together with our friends and teammates. Lastly, we would like to share the story of our most favorite moment of the Winter Story Walk. Evie, Grace.
Me and Grace were reading the story to the students in the special program. We went outside and Grace read the title page. Then one of the students started reading the entire book. It was really cool to see him reading the entire thing. It was unexpected because Grace told the team that he usually mumbles when he reads. It was amazing to see that happen.
I was really happy to see him express himself in a way that I haven't seen him do before.
Our last speaker is Luke to share our hopes and dreams for the future of our community and the world.
My name is Luke Carson. I'm 11 years old in 5th grade. This is my second year on the Civil Rights Team, and I'm in 5th grade. And I'd like to share my hope and dream and a special memory that I will never forget. So the memory was one time I was at a Special Olympics event, and since we were eating lunch, we didn't get the chance to be on the podium when everybody was celebrating. So then we got back to school, and I told my teacher and my classroom, and then my teacher decided to get some chairs, and we decided to make a podium in our classroom, and that was really special. That was really special because most teachers, I feel like, would just clap their hands and stuff, but my teacher went the extra mile. Special thanks to my teacher and basically volunteers for 2nd and 3rd place. And my hope and dream is that since what I explained many of you may guess that I have multiple disabilities, and personally I feel like people with disabilities don't get sometimes is treated as well. And, like, sometimes people think you can do nothing, while other people think you can do everything that they can do, even though we're all different. And sometimes some of us need extra help on our things than certain of us, because we are all different, and we should all feel the right to express ourselves and allow ourselves to truly be who we are.
My hope and dream for the future is less judgment of people's differences.
My hope and dream for the future is more opportunities for people with disabilities.
My hope for the future is more equality for women.
My hope for the future is for our world to be more accepting of people, like being allowed to be who we want to be and not feel embarrassed.
Miss Jill? Yep.
Thank you for inviting us, and it was very fun, and and it was very special to get to talk in person, and personally, from my experience, I'd be willing to come back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the rest of the members would, but I'm just saying that from my personal opinion, I'd be willing to come back because this was really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
If there's any questions.
Any questions? Jen?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I went to see the solar eclipse this week, but I feel like tonight I'm experiencing the total eclipse of like cuteness overload and hope for the future. This was amazing. Thank you so much for coming tonight, but not only that, but for all the work you do all year long at school, making such a difference in your school, in our community, and in the world. And you guys give us hope for the future. Thank you so much.
Michelle?
I just also wanted to say thank you, and that I share many of your hopes and dreams, and they were inspirational. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being willing to come back.
Yes, thank you, Luke. I was just going to say.
Careful, we'll take you up on that.
Yeah. As usual, you are all welcome to stay. You do not need to stay. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Okay.
We're done now, right?
I know.
I could just scoop him up.
Okay, so we will circle back to 2.1, Principal Director Administrative Reports. Any comments or questions on those? The administrative reports are what I'm talking about, sorry.
Just thank them for doing it every week. It's so much information. I feel like if anyone is wondering what's going on in the schools, it's just such a perfect place to go and see so much.
Yes, it definitely helps, I think, us all feel connected, so, yeah. All right, moving on to 3.0 communications, 3.1 public comment. Is there any member of the public wish? I hadn't looked up in a few minutes. Is there any member of the public wishing to make comment? Seeing none, we will move along. To 3.2 student school committee members.
So super hard to top what we just had. I think we're gonna sound a little boring, but you know what, that's okay. All right, so this week we have a Spirit Week that our student council has organized, and a pep rally on Friday to celebrate the last week before spring break. And our break goes from April 15th to April 19th, which I think we are all very excited about. And second, we have have an event called Coin Wars, which is hosted by our Key Club for the second year in a row. And basically, each class aims to collect the most amount of change by April break. And the winning class gets to pie a staff representative in the face at the next pep rally, which is this Friday. And all of these proceeds do go to Camp Sunshine. So it's a great cause and makes us all laugh. So we love it.
Yes, and the GHS Prom Committee is hosting a bedsheet fundraiser, which goes until Friday, April 14th, and it's to raise money for the junior-senior prom in May. Very exciting. And a big congratulations to the GHS robotics team for their achievements in the District First Impact Award and becoming a district competition winner. So big shout out to them. And that's all we had.
Any questions? I have to know, which is the representative that's going to get pied?
So right now, we're counting through tomorrow.
Yes. Okay.
But I believe right now it's between Mr. Sawyer, our lovely vice principal, and Mr. Tangway.
Yep.
So it's between the junior-senior class representatives.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Can we make last-minute donations if we want
Yes,
to tip it
please,
towards
yes.
Mr. Sawyer?
Yes. Yes, please. Any of the lunches.
I donated last year these great big jars full of coins, and Mr. Jandro got the pie as a result.
It was
so-
Mr. Jandro.
Absolutely. Adults are welcome to influence.
Yeah.
I did have a quick question for the ladies. What day was today for Spirit Day?
Pink Day.
Pink Day?
Pink out.
I heard something about a particular principal that might have dressed. Can you?
All pink suit.
Completely pink suit.
Completely pink.
We do have a photo. It's on
Yes,
social media if anybody wants to check that out. Yep.
The resource officer was wearing a pink tutu.
I believe the pink.
I did hear that.
That's on social media too if you want to check it out.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Moving on to 3.3, Superintendent's Report.
All right, thank you. Again, not going to be half as good as what we heard earlier, but I did want to update folks on a few things. But before I do that, I do want to take just a moment and in public sort of apologize to Public Works here in the town of Gorham. There was an email that I sent out to staff during the storm. I was intermittent internet at my home, and I was trying to get a quick email out to folks around reasons for cancellation for school on Friday. And I wrote in there that one of the reasons I was thinking about was that Public Works would have a difficult time cleaning the sidewalks off in time for us to be at school on Friday. And I want to be very, very clear that if I had asked Public Works to clean those sidewalks off, you know what? They would have cleaned the sidewalks off, and it would have been done. And so I just want to be clear. I think that folks might have thought that meant that I didn't think that they could do it. And like any good organization, you take a challenge like that, I'm sure they would do it. But I wanted to be clear that I really have the utmost respect for the Public Works Department, the great work that they do for our community, for our schools, for just the schools. They plow our parking lots. They keep our sidewalks clear. They help patch the pavement at times. They also assist with groundwork at the playgrounds and wood chips and all those things that are necessary to keep the playgrounds operational. And I got to tell you once again that they're just a crew that if you ask them to do anything, they're just going to roll their sleeves up and they're going to get it done. So I just want to say a thank you to Public Works and apologize if that was taken in a way that it was not intended. So I just want to get that taken care of. So hopefully folks can see that and watch that and know the genuineness for this that comes. So on to the informational piece. Department of Education and statewide stuff. Really the big things that are happening right now is at the legislature. Things are moving very, very quickly. They're trying to get the closure for the 17th of April. So they are just pushing through bills right after another. And they're also working on the appropriations and the budget. And I think you probably saw that recently in the news this morning. One of the big pieces of that that is still unknown, there's two actually big things that might impact the schools that are still unknown to this day at this point, but we should know within the next week or so, are around the bills around increase in support staff hourly rates and setting a minimum wage for hourly employees in schools. And then the other one is the moving CDS and FAPE responsibilities for 3- and 4-year-olds to public schools. So no real updates other than that they're still working on that, and we still continue to prepare ourselves for the possibility of having to do the FAPE for CDS services for 3- and 4-year-olds, and I'll talk more about that when we get to the budget. Financially, I'm just going to say that the next big step, of course, later on tonight, you've got an agenda item, but after that, the big piece is a workshop meeting with the town council on April 23rd at 6:30. That meeting is open to the public, although it will not be, there won't be any public comment per se. It is a joint workshop between the town council and the school committee that'll take place downstairs here in the conference room. It will be live streamed and video recorded, so folks that want to view in that way can, but you can also show up in person if you'd like to. And I also want to mention that the Joint Fiscal Sustainability Committee, which we've been working to build and get up and operational, will have its first meeting on April 22nd. Looking forward to that. And so that's all good information. And I think that's about it. The rest of it, if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
All right, any questions? No? Okay. Moving on to 3.4 School Committee. We'll start with Nicole.
Nothing.
Or we can start with Jen.
Jen, you want to take it?
Okay, Jen, we'll start with Jen.
Planned, but I just wanted, I just took, yes, I need to get closer. I didn't have anything planned, but just seeing pre-K tonight and sitting next to these lovely, such accomplished ladies over here, it's really cool to see from pre-K to this. I mean, you guys are wonderful, and it's great to see that progression in our students, and keeps us coming back to do the important work.
Thank you, Mia.
All right. I'd like to do a special shout out to the teachers who spent many hours in their student conferences. Also, special thanks to all the students and the families that participated in those conferences. I think that it's an important team for every student's learning, so thank you all for your work with that. I was also recently part of the contract negotiation team for transportation, facilities, and food service. To these groups, I'd like to say thank you so much for preparing healthy meals, keeping our buildings safe, and driving our students safely to and from school. Just a shout out to let you know that you are definitely appreciated.
Thank you. Nicole.
I would also like to say congratulations to the robotics team for their success as well. And I'm still sort of reeling from the presentations tonight and what a great job the students do. It's not easy to come up here and talk to a bunch of unfamiliar faces who are just staring at you. So I think they did a great job tonight.
Thank you, Michelle.
I just had a couple things as well. I just wanted to say a quick congratulations to our chorus and band students who both had performances this week and last. And I'm just, every time I watch them perform, I'm like amazed by the talent that we have in our school. It's pretty awesome. So that's my first thing. And then the second thing I just wanted to make note of was I had the awesome opportunity today to go to the middle school to participate in Try It Day. It was my second year in a row participating. And this year, my husband came with us and came with me, and we talked about his job in Web3 and my job in tech, so it was pretty cool. And a huge shout out to Kenneth Tompkins from JMG. He coordinated. He said he was very nervous and stressed out the night before, but it was awesome working with those kids and just seeing them engaged. It was amazing. And I even got feedback from my 6th grader when he got home and was like, "Mom, they were talking about you. It was so cool." So it was really, really well done. And I'm glad to have been able to participate, and I hope I get invited back next year. So keep me on the list.
Thank you, Stuart.
So I just want to highlight tomorrow night is the Village School STEAM Night. And if you want to stop by, the award-winning high school robotic robot will be there doing some demonstrations for this year's challenges. So they'll have that. I think last year it was in the gymnasium there. I suspect it's probably in the same space, but that was a really good and fun night last year. Unfortunately, I will be missing it for the assistant superintendent interviews, but I'm sure it'll be a success again this year.
Thank you. I have nothing to add other than I hope everybody enjoys their well-earned April vacation coming up. Moving on to 4.0, School Committee Standing and Special Committees. 4.1, Finance and Facilities. Stuart?
So we, Finance Committee last met on March 27th. We discussed the architect that was selected for our MDOE application process, and they're going to help. They're going to help us put those applications together, and really do everything that they can to give us the best chance at a state-funded project or two, if we should qualify. So we're going to get that process for getting that steering committee in place, and get those applications ready for the deadline. And we reviewed the CDS process and legislation that Heather talked about earlier, and reviewed the regular monthly reports. Our next meeting for Finance Committee will be April 24th at 6 p.m. in the Superintendent's office.
Any questions? No? Okay, moving on. 4.2 policy. Stuart.
Policy Committee met right before this meeting and continued with our review of some outdated policies. Most of the policies tonight that we talked about centered around health in our nurses, some of the policies that affect them. And we'll see those policies for first read in May. We have a bunch on the agenda for tonight for first read and second read. And the next meeting for policy will be May 8th at 5:30 in the central office.
Questions? Okay. Sorry, I can't see. 4.3 personnel. Anne couldn't be here, so I will alert people that personnel has not met since the last meeting, and the next meeting is to be determined. 4.4 vocational education. Jen.
Yes, the last meeting was March 14th at PATH. I was not able to attend, but looking over the notes, some of the things that stood out to me was now that they've adopted integrated credits, they're really fleshing out a lot of the details about how we're going to keep looking at this every year. Do we need to hire someone? So a lot of those details are being looked at. And then the other thing that really stood out to me was just at PATH alone, they had 737 visitors for 230 openings. So you can see these programs are getting very popular. And let's see, the next meeting is May 9th at 8:30 at WRVC.
Questions? Moving on, 4.5 ad hoc, Gorham Teaching and Learning, and great, thank you.
I was at that meeting, so maybe I can help with that one. Just really briefly then, the major conversation that was taking place at the Gorham Teaching and Learning Committee last time was a review of the draft AI guidelines that we are working on. The district leadership team had provided some feedback, some revisions were made. Teaching and Learning Committee has now provided feedback, revisions are being made. We're planning on doing some conversations with leadership teams across the district to get their input, and then the ultimate result will be to bring the guidelines to present to you. It won't be a policy, though. It's just going to be an informational piece. But then we would be prepared to share those guidelines with staff as we open the school year next year. So those will be in place. Oh, and the next meeting is April 22nd at 3:30 via Zoom.
Question, Stuart.
Do we anticipate needing a policy to support those, or will we be able to do that with the guidelines only?
I think the guidelines only at this point in time, unless something changes, and the rationale being that we want the AI work to be done within our existing frameworks of vision and strategic planning. We don't want it to be seen as a completely separate thing from what we do. So I think that's the rationale behind that. But we'll play it by ear, and if we need to go in that direction, we can.
All right, Anti-Racism and Equity Committee, Nicole.
We have not met since last meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 24th at 5:30 at the high school library.
Dropout Prevention Committee, Jen?
We have not met since the last meeting. Next meeting is to be determined.
And Alternative Education Vision Committee?
Oh, yes, that's another one from Ann. And I was present at that one. No, actually, that was Mr. Porter that was at the last one. But I can give a brief overview anyway. What was discussed at the last meeting was around a review of the survey information. We conducted a district-wide survey around alternative education. and trying to gather information from folks about what they feel it is, what it should be, really helping to get some language together around developing a vision statement for what we would like to see for alternative education moving forward. And so they determined that there was going to be a couple of working groups that were going to be established, and those working groups are sort of working, and then we're going to come back together again at the, I think it's April 23rd is the next meeting.
Questions? Okay. 5.0 unfinished business. 5.1 second reading of the following policies. Service animals in schools. Actually, Stuart, would you like to discuss these?
It sounded like you had it handled, but I can take over. So service animals in schools, education philosophy and mission, school district goals and objectives, and school commitment to learning results. This was for first read in March. We did not receive any feedback from school committee members, so it's the same version that was presented to you a month ago. And we are recommending they be passed. So with that, I would make a motion to approve a policy ACAC, policy AD, policy ADA, and policy ADF for second reading as presented.
Okay, motion by Stuart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nicole. Discussion.
I have one thing, I guess. I just wanted to make a comment about the education philosophy and mission. I did read through it thoroughly, and I thought it was great. So I just wanted to make that comment for the changes made.
Great. All right, seeing no further comments, all those in favor? 6-0. Okay, moving on to 6.0 new business. 6.1 action is needed on communication and reports. None. 6.2 consideration and action on the proposed FY25 school budget. Superintendent Perry.
I'm just going to provide an overview, and then what you probably ought to do is get some motions on the floors and start having conversation. But I wanted to provide a quick update because there were some changes that have been made since the last time we met in a budget workshop, and I want to kind of list what those changes were, and then also provide an updated summary of where we stand with the budget as it's currently proposed. So the changes that were made since the last time we met dealt mostly with health insurance. We had budgeted for a 10% increase in our health insurance. We were a little worried there for a period of time that we might get a larger increase than what was budgeted for, but we wound up getting the numbers finalized, and that we wound up with a 3% overall increase. So that allowed us to reduce the overall requested budget by about $515,000. Now, another change that did take place also since the last time you met is that we did sort of wrap up administrative negotiations, and we added about $7,500 to the proposed budget as a result of that, just to make sure that everything was accounted for that we finalized. And then finally, another change that has occurred since then is we have been working with Lavallee as the architectural firm for our Maine Department of Education application process, and we were able to get a quote for the services. And it was a little higher than we had anticipated, but after a thorough review, they've dropped the numbers down a little bit, and I feel as though what that package is something that we definitely want to move forward with. But that would probably, I think it behooves us to add about $50,000 into FY25's budget request as a result of that work. So those three things are the big changes that took place since the last time we met in a budget workshop. So what does that all mean? So let me give you the highlights. Big picture right now, our total expenditures increase stands at 6.78% overall over FY24's approved budget. And then the proposed budget, when we look at calculating in the revenue and the impacts on taxpayers, what we're looking at is an increase of about 76 cents right now on the mill. And that was about an 8.68% increase on the mill on the appropriation need. Oh, I did forget to mention that in between our last meeting, we did get a finalized number for local appropriation value, local tax value from Ephraim and Sharon at the town level, and that did help us to the tune of about 30 million, I think it was. So that was helpful in reducing the impact of the budget on the mill. So all that being said, then people like to understand rough numbers. If you have a home valued at about $400,000, roughly this proposed budget as it stands right now would increase taxes by just a hair over $300 for a home valued at $400,000. So that's the overview. At this point in time, I will turn it back over to our wonderful facilitator to get some motions on the floor and go from there.
Okay. Is there anyone who might like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that the school committee approves and authorizes the superintendent to adopt an FY25 school budget of $53,380,801. This figure represents a 6.78% increase over the FY24 budget and is the only part of the FY25 budget that requires state and local, which is Town of Gorham, support.
Okay, motion by Stuart. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Michelle. Discussion.
I guess I'll start.
Sure. Go ahead, Michelle.
I feel like it's too big of a motion to maybe not make a comment on at least. I think in terms of where we ended up with this budget, I mean, this being my first time on this side of the process, it was wildly interesting. I spent an incredible amount of time going down line by line in every row of the sheets that I was given. And some additional data, as you guys all know up here. So I just wanted to say I plan to support this budget. I appreciate the work that was done by the entire committee and everyone involved, but it continues to concern me greatly, the track that we are on here in this town. I don't think now is the time to try to increase because of what the data that I've been looking at shows, or, try to ask for things that I know may not be well received by our taxpayers, and that we have to keep that in mind. But the way that I look at this and without reiterating all of the data that I've presented already in workshops, it's clear to me that we are not pacing well with our growth in population. And to me, we're headed down a dangerous path. I've crunched a lot of numbers. This increase, while it's great for taxpayers that we're keeping it low, I think it will drive us down further in the per pupil spending. That's my prediction. That's not the direction that I really think we need to go. I, like many people, my financial future is invested in my home. And if we keep on this path, I don't know what that's going to say for the value of my home. And so I really look forward to having conversations with the town council, with the town manager, talking about my financial models, the data that I've seen. The patterns are very clear. I've talked to a few folks already, some community members. For now, I think this is a responsible budget. I think it's reasonable, and it's based on real needs and numbers. But I think we have a lot of work to do as we continue to move forward and look at next year. So those are my comments, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Stuart.
I too will be supporting this budget. I share some of the same concerns as Michelle does. Again, a comment I share every year. This budget grossly underfunds our facilities. This is probably the lowest proposal for capital improvements that I've seen come into a budget. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that because of that, it's going to be harder to find reductions without impacting student services. Capital improvements has been the first target anytime we have to make further reductions to the budget, and we don't have that anymore, or we don't have that this year. So I am concerned that we're already not investing enough in our buildings. And so with that option gone, reducing this budget further, we've talked about it at several meetings. Those reductions directly impact our students. It brings class sizes up to 30 students in some cases. It eliminates programs that our students need to succeed. We had a great presentation tonight from our civil rights team. And we see a lot of money that we're spending on our special education program. And that's not only money that is required that we spend, but those programs are expensive to operate because of the needs of those students. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. I really would love to have seen the impact be less to the taxpayers, but I don't know that that comes from the school budget. We've seen efforts in this budget to increase our revenues, both with the way we staff our buildings and maximizing the amount of money from the state, as well as adding services that will help generate revenues in the future.
Did we not move around?
Not moving enough to keep the lights on. There we go. So we've explored some of those options. We've had new programs proposed, with the addition of alt ed at the high school, and seen reductions that come alongside that. So our administrators and our directors are looking responsibly at their budgets, and when they're bringing us new stuff, they're looking for ways to offset that within their budgets. I think I made the comment, I don't know if it was at a meeting or after a meeting to somebody, we don't have the new program proposals that we used to. It used to be each year there would be some new thing that we're offering at our schools, some way to move our district forward, offering new programs or new opportunities, and we're maintaining right now. And if we want to be competitive with other districts and what they're offering our students, then we have to be competitive in what they're paying to operate their schools. And if we're the lowest in the county per pupil expenditures, we're not going to get what everybody wants. So I'll be supporting this budget. I wish the dollar amount was less, but I wish we could do a lot more with what we have available.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Nicole?
I will echo certainly what Stuart and Michelle said, but I do too also want to recognize Dr. Perry and Dr. Porter and the admin team and Hollis and your team who worked really hard to put all of this together, who sat with us, who painstakingly go through these and make really difficult decisions. And I just appreciate that because I know that this isn't easy, and I certainly feel like, as Michelle said, we can't kick this can down the road for much longer, and there has to be some pretty serious conversations to be had before it's going to have some real detrimental effects. But I know that there are difficult conversations being had in order to get to where we got to this year, and so I just appreciate that, and I wanted to call that out. So thank you.
Mia?
Well, based on the additions that we have in the budget, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider some of the items that we removed from the budget previously.
Okay. Can you be more specific?
I would like to discuss adding back in the Great Falls teacher at $95,000.
Okay. So is that a
motion to amend?
Motion to amend. Hollis, could I steal a piece of paper from you, please? Thank you. Okay. So you would like to make a motion to amend the motion by adding $95,000 back into the budget for the purpose of retaining the Great Falls teaching position that was cut in earlier workshop conversations?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
So moved by Mia, seconded by Michelle. Discussion?
So I'll start.
Sure.
I actually have a couple of handouts, so you'll see what I'm referring to. I am very concerned, really, really concerned about the class sizes for both grades 1 and grades 2 at Great Falls School. As you'll see, what I'm passing out is class guidelines, so you'll see what I'm referring to, as well as some of the data sheets that were submitted by Mrs. Fortier in the budget manual. Optimal class sizes for these grades are 20 or under. Mid-range is 21 to 23. Both of these grades are already at the highest point of the mid-range at 23. For fiscal year 24, the summer enrollments at Great Falls School were 7 for first grade and 6 for second grade. My experience at Village also states that these are common enrollment figures, and it's safe to say that we will receive at least that over the upcoming summer. These additional enrollments would put grade 1 at 25 students to begin the year, and grade 2, 25 students to begin the year as well. These are some of our youngest learners. If you could refer to Becky's, the data sheet that gives the outline of the classrooms. I'm going to pull from a quote that was in a narrative in Becky's submission in the budget binder. The challenges that occur with large class sizes limit the ability to provide effective programming in their regular ed classroom setting to all students, but especially students with significant needs. As you can see, both grade 1 and grade 2 do have significant needs in those grades. I have leaned on your expertise in many of my decisions, and now I'm asking you to trust my experience. I worked in the schools for 14 years. I didn't go through the budget process that you went through last year, and I appreciate your caution very much, and I don't want to be one that holds the process up, but I can't support a budget that has these high class sizes. I think it's a disservice to our students, to our families, and our teachers. I'm asking for 1 teacher, but honestly, I think we could use 2. But I'm asking for 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion?
Could I add something?
Jen, yes.
Which is interesting. I read an article in the Portland Press Herald. Maine teacher shortage is expected to be widespread in the next school year. And I know that Gorham is doing great things with trying to get ed techs to be, a teacher, but that's not going to happen right away. And I think to what you're speaking to, it's not only about how much teachers are paid, although that would definitely help if they were paid a living wage, but it's also about having huge class sizes and feeling like, I can't manage this, because half of the kids have significant challenges and needs, and then these huge class sizes. So,
especially for the younger grades is what I'm feeling.
Right. So I am leaning towards supporting that.
Michelle.
I actually have a question that just for my own learnings and maybe for others that don't know, could we get a review of optimal size versus mid-range and what that means in terms of when we look at class size and we say optimal versus mid-range?
Certainly. So there was back actually in 2016, it was only my second year here as superintendent of schools, there had been a lot of conversations at the time. We were struggling greatly with increasing enrollments of like 65 to 75 students more each year than we had anticipated when we budgeted. And the class sizes were a significant issue at that time. And so one of the things that we developed was a set of guidelines for what the class sizes should be at the grades K through 5 at the time. And when we refer to optimal means what would we want in the best of circumstances. And so when you look at kindergarten, our optimal class sizes are 18 or less. When you look at grade 1, it's 20 or less. When you look at grade 2, it's 20 or less. When you look at grade 3 through 5, it's 23 or less. When we talk about mid-range, that terminology came into being, it was probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, just before COVID, I would say, the pandemic, when we started talking about the fact that when we plan for and when we project for optimal, oftentimes we wind up with less than optimal class sizes in the coming year when you're planning for that, because we have movement that occurs, and yes, we have movement that comes in, but we also typically have movement that comes out. And so what was happening was we were planning and projecting forward for class sizes with the optimal numbers, and we were well under those numbers at the time. So we created the mid-range numbers, knowing that those would kind of move around a little bit and that we'd wind up typically with the optimal numbers when school started the next year. So that's kind of how those mid-range numbers were created. They are slightly higher than optimal, but the understanding is, and the practice has been, and the reality has been, not for every grade, but for overall, that there is an overall sort of shift and there's a loss of what we were anticipating. And that's been the case for the past couple of years. And so that's where the mid-range number comes in, and that's what we've budgeted for when we create the budget for the past 4 years anyway.
Thank you.
Other discussion, Stuart?
So I think for me, because we've talked about this previously, so I don't have the same experience in the schools that you do, Mia. So I rely heavily on the superintendent and our administrators to provide their advice and suggestions. And I know on 2 separate occasions, both the principal of Great Falls and the superintendent said that because of the enrollment numbers being lower than what was expected, that this was a position that we were able to do without. So unless that enrollment number has gone up since our last meeting, that's changed that, I'm still in support of not having this position in the budget.
I do want to be clear that there has been increasing enrollments in the 1st grade at Great Falls. There's also been increasing enrollments at the 5th grade at Great Falls that are causing some concern. But we continue to monitor those class numbers over the course of the spring, and oftentimes there's an ability to be flexible with existing staff to make that doable for the coming year. Also, I think what I noted when you asked that question, Stuart, earlier in the workshop was that right now our kindergarten enrollment numbers at Narragansett are much lower than we had anticipated, and so the likelihood is high that I'll have the flexibility for one of those 2 classrooms that you're concerned about to address that with that staff person and moving that staff person. But that doesn't, I think, Mia's expressing concern about 2 classes, one of which could be addressed with my already pre-planned movement, but the other one would not be. So I think, just to be clear, I think that's what she said.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment to the motion? Okay. So we have a motion and a second to add $95,000 to the budget for the purpose of adding a Great Falls teacher, thank you. All those in favor of adding that amount to the budget? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is it 4? Or was it 4?
It was 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to double check that.
All those against? 2. The motion passes. So Hollis, do you need a few minutes to?
No, it's actually already in
All right.
email. There's a new budget summary
Okay, what's the number?
that I sent you.
Yeah, I'll put it right in the motion.
Okay. So what the result of that would be that the total expenditure increase is now 6.97%. That's up from 6.78. And then the impact on the mill rate would be 80-cent increase opposed to 76 cents.
What's the new total budget?
Excuse me, $53,475,801.
So the amendment passed, and now you have to vote on the.
Okay, so
now you have to have that.
All right. So now that we're past the amendment, is there anybody that did not get a chance to speak on the overall budget that would like to?
I guess just saying that I will support this budget and echo all the sentiments that have been previously.
All right, and just for those members of the public who may be watching this now or later, there is extensive coverage in our previous 4 workshop meetings about all of our thoughts and rationale behind what's in this budget. I would just echo that one of our top priorities, along with retaining the high quality, sorry, you guys are good? All right. Along with retaining the high quality staff in our schools and maintaining an excellent experience for our students, was also to not put our community through multiple votes to get this budget passed. So I would just fervently ask the town council to consider passing our budget as presented and moving it through in a collaborative manner to prevent further disruption to our community in the coming months. So I will also be supporting the budget. Okay, all those in favor of the amended motion?
Yes.
Okay. 6-0. Okay, do we have a second motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the school committee approve and authorize the superintendent to adopt the FY25 school budget, which raises additional local funds to support the school budget in the amount of $11,266,235, an amount which exceeds the amount required as a local contribution to the state allocation by $11,266,235 be approved.
Thank you.
My apologies for interrupting you earlier, but that's what we were
Oh, no,
trying to get that number.
Oh, it's fine.
So,
Thank you for doing that and for reading all the long motions. The rest of us appreciate it. Jen, did I hear you second that? All right. Any discussion? Stuart?
Superintendent Perry, for our new members, could you explain the difference between this motion and the last motion?
Yeah, this motion above EPS is required by state statute that we have to take this motion separately from the approval of the total budget. This basically indicates the amount of additional local monies that are required above and beyond EPS funding formula to support the overall budget. As we've talked about many, many times before, the EPS funding formula for the state subsidy is a minimal essential programs formula. It does not cover the actual costs to operate a school system. I think it's 100% of folks are above EPS across the state. And so this number, again, it's a statutory piece that basically is just telling you this is the additional local amount that's required for tax dollars to fully fund education in the community of Gorham.
Any additional questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? 6-0. And Superintendent Perry, can you give us a little background on this third motion before it's...
Yeah, this one is a little unique, and I do apologize for this, and it is likely to cause a little bit of confusion. But the purpose, if I could be very, very clear and succinct, the purpose of this third motion is to account for an unknown situation that we just don't know what it is at this point in time. And it really deals with the legislation that's going through right now around whether or not public schools are going to be required to take on FAPE responsibilities for 3- and 4-year-olds. So if FAPE, free and appropriate public education, which is basically special education services for 3- and 4-year-olds. If that responsibility moves to public schools and the legislation is passed, there would be a 4-year ramp-up process that schools could wait as much as 4 years for. We are trying to decide in Gorham whether or not we want to be one of the first pilot schools to do that. There are certain advantages to that that could be beneficial to us if this legislation passes. It also may not happen at all. We have not made that final decision about whether or not we want to be a pilot system. But this motion will allow us to have the freedom and flexibility to make that decision if we feel we want to do that. And here's the rationale behind it. When you approve of the budget, the total budget that you just approved, the $53 million figure, and when that gets approved by the town council and when that gets approved by the referendum in June, what that does is it basically gives you and me, authority to only expend up to that amount, period. Like, we can't go over that total amount. That's in statute. It's not possible. If it is, we'd have to go back and do special budget meetings, and it's just not a pleasant experience. If we were to, after you vote tonight on the total proposed budget, if we were to find out or to decide that we wanted to do the pilot process with the CDS, there would be expenditures that would be associated with that to the tune of right around $1.3 million. Now, there's offsetting revenue. 100% of that revenue would be offset by the state. However, we would still need permission from the voters to expend that additional amount. What this motion does is it allows for flexibility if we were to receive additional funds from the state to operate the CDS program, that we could then in turn expend it. So this motion allows for that flexibility. If we don't have that flexibility, or if this motion were not passed and made part of our budget, then we would not be able to pilot even if we wanted to, because we would be limited by the total budget that you just approved moments ago. Does that make sense? Complicated, but necessary.
However, this vote in no way obligates us to move forward with the program, even if it's offered.
That is correct.
Okay.
I fully intend on reading this motion.
Oh, good.
However, I'm wondering if So let's say in the unlikely event that in addition to, we go down this path of we're going to do this, we get the additional EPS funding of 1.3 million, let's say, and that's what we're going to spend. But they also increase somehow the EPS funding, and instead we get the 1.3 for this program, but a little bit extra for the other program. In the past, we've always done this motion has been to return that money to offset the taxes. Can I do this in a way as a hybrid option that the any money received for this program for the 3 and 4 year olds be used, but anything beyond that would be returned?
I think that gets a little complicated. And I think the rationale behind this particular one is that you want to be as specific as possible with the voters and transparent as possible with the voters, in that, I'll be honest with you, I don't anticipate any additional funding in any other way from the EPS funding formula, period. It's already at 100% from the Governor Mills. I don't see that happening. The only thing I see happening might be that we decide to go forward with the CDS and services, and if that's the case, we would have about 1.3 in expenditures, and we would have that 1.3 additional revenue, and this motion would cover that particular scenario. So I would, and if we did get additional revenues from the state above and beyond that, we just simply wouldn't expend it, and it would go into our balances at the end of the year.
Okay, so then we wouldn't use it necessarily this year, but it could be used in future years to
offset taxpayer expense. Yes.
All right, then I make a motion to add a budget warrant article to the FY25 budget warrant for the town of Gorham that allows the Gorham School Department to utilize any additional state subsidy dollars for the purpose of increasing expenditures for school purposes associated with the provision of FAPE services to 3 and 4 year olds in cost-centered categories approved by the school committee.
Thank you, Stuart. Is there a second? Yep. Second by Nicole. Discussion, questions?
This helps us move further down. It gives us more responsibility, but not only does it allow, if we choose to go with this program, will allow us to identify needs of students earlier and furthers our goal of having more revenue offsetting programs because we can directly bill CDS for these services. Correct?
That last piece I'm going to say no to, because what happens is if we accept responsibilities for FAPE as a SAU, and if it's placed upon us by the state legislature, there's no billing CDS. CDS ceases to exist. We could, in turn, if we're providing the services solely, we could bill main care for those services and receive that as a revenue stream. So to me, your original statement was right. It is a way to increase or strengthen potential revenue streams in the future. It's also a way to ensure that the expenditures that you're focusing your priorities are giving us the biggest return on our investment.
So we have added a position to start the main care billing process.
That's in the general fund that was already approved. Yep.
Yeah. So that position would help.
Yes.
Us do more billing with this program as well.
Yes, it could.
Okay.
And this is as well, like if we were, from what I understood from previous conversations, is that it's been challenging at times in regards to CDS and the availability, and this way we at least know that children are getting services if they are getting it through us, as opposed to if there is a need out in the community and it's not able to be met.
I think that if you look at the history of CDS services in the past, especially in our area in Cumberland County, one of the things that we've discovered, especially with the work with the Bright Futures for Little Rams, work that we did 2 years ago, and the studies that we did then, is very clear that CDS is not able to provide the services that are required for families in our area. That's one of the reasons we started the pre-K program, to be able to try to offset some of that for 4-year-olds. This would basically extend that opportunity for 3-year-olds.
Thereby potentially lowering our ongoing special services costs.
Absolutely, yes, that's the intention. Yep.
Okay. Seeing no other comments or questions, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, moving on to 6.3, first reading of the following policies. Stuart.
So we have 8 policies up for first read tonight. I'm not going to necessarily detail all of them. I will point out that on each of these policies, there's a little bit of information at the top that explains what's going on with the policy. So we have the Comprehensive Health and Safety Emergency Management Plan, which is a new policy, administration goals, employment of superintendent, administration in policy absence, annual budget, truancy, students with HIV/AIDS, and life-saving medical devices. I will highlight that the students with HIV/AIDS policy is a recommendation to remove that policy from our listing. It's no longer recommended. And really just doesn't fit with the way we handle things now. So those descriptions are all in there, and we will, if you have any feedback or questions, you can send them to myself and Dr. Porter, and the policy committee will review it, and barring no changes or a few changes, it'll be for second read at our next regular meeting.
Great, thank you. Moving on to 6.4, executive session to consider the negotiated contract with MBCC pursuant to 1 MRSA section 4056D. We will be coming out of the executive session briefly to vote.
We're going to go upstairs.
Yes.
For the executive session. We'll vote upstairs, but we will be coming into public session to vote, yes.
So we will be going upstairs for all the people that...
Would you like me to say what we're doing?
Sure,
All
why
right.
don't you just do that?
In just a moment, we're going to go upstairs for executive session. During that executive session, it will be closed to the public. We will be coming out of executive session and taking a public vote. If folks would like to sit outside of the in the hallway to wait for that vote, you certainly can. Otherwise, that's where we'll be ending our meeting, is upstairs.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
I will make a motion to enter into executive session to consider the negotiated contract with MBCC pursuant to 1 MRSA section 4056D.
Michelle, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mia. All those in favor? 6-0. All right. Thank you, everybody. Yay.